we'll get started now. I'm just going to mute everybody, and then you can unmute yourself if you need to ask any questions, or if you're going to be chatting. Just before we get started into our updates for the week, a bit of sad news. At the last town hall, we had a meeting of special presentation to our Hall of Fame award winners, and Ian Anderson had mentioned during the introduction of our award winners, he had also mentioned that we'd had a number of Hall of Fame people that had passed away this year, and unfortunately we've had another one who's just recently passed away that I think many people on this call will have known. Elaine Lake, who was a longtime official with the organization, and Elaine was a Hall of Fame inductee along with her husband back in 2012, and unfortunately she's just recently passed away. I think, Anthony, maybe you could share the links to our Hall of Fame notice and also the obituary that's out there. Sad news, but unfortunately, it's more and more of that happening these days. Along those same now let's move on to some more pleasant updates. First of all, we've got special guest with us today, Karen from Toronto Track and Field Centre, who's going to give a bit of an update on what's happening at the Toronto Track and Field Centre, because I know that there's many people on this call who use the Track and Field Centre. So Karen, if you want to just take yourself off mute, and floor is yours.
Hi, Paul. Thank you for that. So basically, we are looking at doing some much needed repairs to our indoor track. We've identified 6 key areas at this time that we are undertaking what we call emergency repairs with. And to date, we've had a couple of companies come in. We're hoping to receive quotes from these companies by end of week, with the hopes that they will be able to undertake the work and complete it. We've given them a deadline by the end of November, which would coincide with York University's in-house track event that they hold annually. In the interim, and over the course of the next little while. So we're essentially approaching this from a 3-pronged approach. We're going to look at doing our emergency repairs. We're hoping to also reach out, hopefully it'll be the same company that will be able to address repairs as we go through the indoor season. And then much further down the line, look at either like the total replacement of the track. So that's the overall picture. With that in mind, we do have some, and we've trying to keep the communications as up to date as possible. But we do have some limitations in and around those facility. We have been in communication with, we believe, most coaches and that, with regards to areas not being available for use in that. And we may, as we go through the process of the indoor season, we may incur some more additional changes in that may impact how training is done in that. But we, again, will give you enough leeway time and updates for that. So that's essentially it in a nutshell, and a high overview of what's happening at this time.
Great, thanks, Karen. So is it accurate to summarize that I mean, the emergency repairs you're working on as quickly as possible, and you're trying not to impact the training as much as possible, and that the current plan is that the normal indoor meets throughout the throughout the indoor season will be able to go ahead as planned, as likely planned. Is that safe to say?
Yes, that is safe to say. So yeah,
Okay.
that was what we had a consultation meeting with some members, and I presume some members that are on this call were also part of that, where we got some feedback as to what exactly would be optimal. And so we're trying to meet that, keeping these things in mind, and hopefully, yeah, be able to have meet the demands of the indoor season to the best of our abilities.
Great, wonderful. And you mentioned that the ultimate goal is looking at a total replacement of the indoor track. Is that something over the next year, 2 year, or 3 year? Are we looking how long down?
So I was on a call yesterday, and it wasn't. They kind of said it's not happening next year, but
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so it's something that's long term that they are definitely have flagged. And so, I mean, as I'm here, and as long as my manager is, the two of us have been very vocal about ensuring that this place gets a little TLC that is required. Hopefully they'll get it within the next 2 to 3 years.
Great. Thanks, Karen. And anybody else have any questions for Karen? Oh, we have her. Okay,
Just
wonderful.
a comment that is good that, sorry, Bob, that
Yeah.
it's good that they're starting to talk about it now, about a full replacement of the track, because I think, as we all know, how long things take. So it's good that it's starting now, at least. Hopefully maybe in 2 to 3 years it can happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Agreed. All right, Karen, thank you so much for jumping on our call and giving us the update. I know that many people use the facilities, and of course, it's the major indoor competition facility for the province. So obviously, it would be major challenges if we had to go through that, and especially after the last couple of years of COVID, another major problem or major challenges would not have been fun. So thanks so much for updating us, and we look forward to further updates.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
Further updates. Brendan, you want to give us some updates on some upcoming summits?
Absolutely. Thank you, Paul. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I will get started and I'll let Angela continue on. But we are in the time of the year where we've got lots of education opportunities for coaches. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the first one coming up, which is the National Throws Summit. Everything's going up into the chat now. So if you wanted to register, just cut and paste that address in capitals. But we're really excited about this. This is the first time we're looking at doing a national throws or a national summit of any kind. So we're partnering with BC, and we're having 2 weekends of education. The first weekend, as you can see there, is November 5th, and that'll be a virtual session hosted by us. We've got some great speakers, some local speakers. Richard Parkinson, you all know very well. Bill Heichler will be looking after javelin. Bogdan Poprowski will be looking at education on strength conditioning for throwers. And Danielle Chow-Leong, who is our AC massage therapist, she'll be doing a session on self-care for throwing athletes. So a really good first day of sessions virtually. And then the second weekend will be 11th to the 13th of November, so the following weekend, and it's in person in Richmond, in British Columbia. So really, really high quality people coming in for that session. So the coach, Mohammed Satra, you might not have heard of him, but he is the coach of Cameron Rogers, as well as Mikolas Alekna. Alekna is a really talented Lithuanian hammer thrower, who's coming up, and he's won World Juniors. He's got a silver medal at World Championships this year, as well as European champ. He's only 20 years old. So we've got some really good athletes as well as coaches coming. And then Kara and Russ Winger, who are really big in the American scene and the college scene. And they'll be doing a session on discus. So the focus for the first weekend is shot put and javelin here in Ontario, and the second weekend is discus and hammer throw. So you've got the fees there as well, a few different price points. So if you wanted to do virtual only, it's obviously cheaper, but for anybody who's really interested in this, and any of the clubs that have administrators on this call, please pass on this information to all of your coaches, especially your throws coaches. We're really excited to have a great product for this, and we really want to try and have all of our coaches as engaged as possible with these events. So we're going to be trying to do what we can to support that. If you have any questions or you want any more information, please don't reach out to myself or Angela. But you can also just see some more information on that Tracky page as well when you go on that to register. So registration is now open, and as I said, if any more questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. For right now, is there any questions on the upcoming Throws Summit? Okay, awesome. I'll pass it over to you, Angela.
And just along the same lines of our education series, we're going to be hosting here in Toronto a jump symposium. So that's going to be Athletics Ontario in partnership with the University of Toronto. Carl is doing a great job being able to kind of curate a great weekend. It's going to also be in person and online. We're still working on price points, but we want to make sure that this is affordable as possible for people. It's going to be a great opportunity for the jumps community. I was just thinking about it this morning. We have such a great and robust amount of sprinters. And as we know in the horizontal jumps, that's almost like 80% of the whole horizontal jumps. So we're gonna already have Jeremy Fisher, who works at the training center down in San Diego, who will be coming up, and we'll also be doing vertical jumps, Carl, and a pole vault presenter. This is going to be a combination of in-classroom sessions, so kind of theoretical, some presenters from the University of Toronto who are lending their time and their expertise in terms of just training, and then 2 days of practical sessions on track, which I'm very, very excited for, and I think that's going to be a great opportunity for our jumps community. So anybody out there who's in the jumps or even sprints, because a lot of those sprinters can come over, especially in the horizontal jumps, please be on the lookout for that. We're hoping to launch our promotion for that by Monday. So again, another great educational series for coaches in Ontario and anybody else who actually wants to come from anywhere else in the country via the virtual, the live streaming. So be on the lookout for that. We will, in the next town hall, have more information specifics for the jump symposium. And that's being held in December 9th through the 11th, just that weekend. So just a little bit of a heads up to place that on your calendar and make some arrangements to come see us in person or online, but better in person because we've missed out on that for a while. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you.
Great. Any questions for Brendan or Angela? Okay, wonderful. Talking about events, just a quick couple of updates on some past events. So this past weekend, we had our fall classic race walk, which included the 20K AO championships. And Sandy's online and will give us a quick update on how that went. Sandy.
Thanks, Paul. Hi, everyone. Which was quite a bit more than we initially hoped for or anticipated. So that's great. And 9 of them were entered in the 20K championship. So that was really fantastic to have 9. We started the 10 and the 20K walkers together because we had a small field in the 10K. So they started together at 9:30. And then, oh, and people, I just wanted to mention, people came from 4 different provinces, 1 territory, and 1 person came from Ohio in the States. So we had a really good representation from across Canada. At 9:45, we had a high school challenge with for the schools in Ottawa, and we had 2 schools participate. It was kind of came about as after the Racewalk Youth Summit that we had in the spring. So this was as a result of that. So that was really, really great. They did 1K, so 1 loop of the course, and had some great times. And yeah, that was wonderful to see them. They're hopeful up and comers. I just wanted to say that in the 20K championship, the first finisher was Olivia Lundman, 19 years old from BC. And then second was Brian O'Donnell from Ontario, and JP Yu from Ontario was third. So Brian and JP were the Ontario champions for the men. And we didn't have any Ontario champions in the women's category. We had lots of women, but just from other, not registered with AO and from other provinces. What else? We had 7 AO officials and 1 official from Quebec. We had 12 people in the 5K race walk that started at 10:30. And yeah, I think that's everything. It was a great day. It was great to see everybody together, and the number was fantastic to have 29. So we're happy.
Thanks, Andy. And along the lines of summits, we held our first Racewalk Summit this past spring, and Racewalks is one of the areas, one of the event groups that there's a lot of opportunity in Ontario. So obviously, as you heard, BC and Quebec done really well in the Racewalks, and they tend to represent us on an international stage. Going back to the 80s and 90s, Ontario used to be a driving force in Racewalks. We've not quite where we used to be, and this is an opportunity for us to really grow our Racewalk community. We'll be looking at holding another Racewalk Summit again next spring, and encourage everybody to think about, you know, the opportunities for racewalking, as it's a pretty big potential in Ontario. On further events, we had 3 cross-country races that were this past weekend in Ottawa, Niagara Falls, and in Toronto. And we've got another couple of cross-country pet meets coming up in October 16th at Sunnybrook with a 1K, 2K, 3K, and 5K races. There's a October 22nd race happening down in Fireman's Park, St. Catharines, with a 2, 4, and 6K events. We've got a October 30th cross-country pet in Sunnybrook with a 1K, 2K, 4K, 6K, and 8K distances. OFSA's on November 5th in Oshawa. And then November 13th is the AO Cross Country Championships in Kingston, Fort Henry. And on November 26th is the National Cross Country Championships, which will be in Ottawa at Mooney's Bay. So that's the what the fall schedule looks like for cross country championships. So quite a few coming up. We look forward to seeing folks out there. Any questions with respect to events? Okay, great. Let's go over to our coaching update.
Yeah,
Zahid.
thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, so I just have 3, I guess, / updates, reminders. Number 1, most importantly, the Canadian Cross Country Championships are approaching about 7, 8-ish weeks away now. So just as a reminder, just put in the chat, Athletics Canada does require all coaches that are looking to register for a coaching pass at the championships to be minimum club coach certified. So if there are any coaches on here or at your clubs that are looking to get that squared away, have them get in touch with me and I can guide them through that process. The next update is the AO, so the Athletics Ontario Hall of Fame Committee is looking to generate some interest from folks that are interested in joining that committee. The deadline for submitting your interest is October the 16th. I'll put that in the chat. Anyone that's interested, send Ian Anderson an email. Sorry, the link to the term of reference did not pop up, but I'll put it right here. So that's the term of reference. So anybody that's has any interest in joining our Hall of Fame committee can submit their interest to Ian Anderson. And then lastly, Athletics Canada is hosting a webinar this week. Speaker will be Steve Magnus, covering the topic, Do Hard Things, Building Toughness and Developing Resilience. It's free to all our members. So I'll go ahead and put that in the chat. And that's it for me, Paul.
Thanks, Sahid. Any coaching questions for Sahid? Okay, great. Let's jump onto the roads. Cheryl.
Sorry, I didn't realize my video was off. I couldn't find myself. Hi guys, I hope everyone's doing well. Today on the podcast, today on the town hall, we have John Shep, who's been helping me out a lot over the past year. He is our host of our podcast, and he's also now helping to organize our inaugural Trillium Running Festival, which we have set for April 29th up at Trail Hub. He's going to talk a little bit about that. John, are you, I guess I'll have to unmute you.
He can unmute himself.
You can unmute, yeah, you can unmute yourself and talk.
Hey everybody, just so October 29th, we have the Trillium Running Festival. So it is, we set out a 4K loop out in Uxbridge at the Trail Hub. And we are inviting race directors, Athletics Ontario members, and basically the running community at large to come and just have a fun run. It's a well-organized fun run. So it'll be a 4K course. People can sign up to either do one loop, 2 hours or 4 hours. And the intention is to have everybody finish at about 1 p.m. And sort of the celebration ensues. So we have a number of local community members who are coming out. Second Wedge Brewing, who had actually helped sponsor the Race Directors Summit, are coming out. They're going to be providing samples. We've got Harvey Mitro coming out, obviously taking life in stride, who's this week's guest on the Trillium Running podcast. We've got a massage therapist, a chiro coming out. And so it's just really an opportunity to make connections and have fun out in the trails. Either Cheryl or myself will put the link in the notes. It's $30, $20 for Athletics Ontario members, of which I hope everybody on this call is. But we really want to just share out the community, and it's a tester run. We're giving it our first shot. But honestly, the community really seems to be embracing it between the raffle prizing. So we've had a number of different race organizations provide raffle prizing. So free entries to the Ottawa Marathon, to Canadian Running Series, Persistence Racing, Happy Trails Racing, Five Peaks, all are providing raffle prizing. And then Odyssey Medicals giving us their medical at a charitable rate. So we have a charity component to the run. I don't know if anybody on the call knows, but the tornado that hit in May really did a number in Uxbridge. Second Wedge Brewing especially was hit hard. Their entire brewing center was destroyed. And so we're raising money for the Uxbridge Rotary Fund, which helps support the tornado relief efforts and honestly just bring people out. I was at the Five Peaks race last weekend, which was a trail race out in Uxbridge. And it was really great seeing the birth of that new area as a trail and as a running community. So as I said, we'll put it in the chat and in the show notes. It's also on our Instagram page. And if you've got any questions, either Cheryl or myself can field them.
Great. Thanks, John. Cheryl, anything else on roads?
Not, I think that's our main focus right now. We will be opening the registration for the Race Director Summit set for January 21st up at Centennial College Event Center. That will be opening probably later in October, as soon as possible. We're just organizing some last details about that. Other than that, nothing else relevant to this group.
Okay, wonderful, thanks. And I believe, Sahid, you forgot one thing you wanted to update?
Yeah, I did. Sorry about that. Angela reminds me behind the scenes. So the last few days we've been working to put together like a document. And our goal is to generate some interest from either certified sport coaches or club coaches that have an interest in becoming a learning facilitator and or a coach evaluator. So we'll be adding that for sure in Thursday's newsletter, sorry, and possibly tonight's as well. So just a reminder to keep an eye on that. And if anybody on here has any interest or any questions regarding that, feel free to reach out to me.
And Sahid, do all officials automatically get the officials newsletter that goes out, or do they have to sign up for it?
Good question. Anthony? Anthony might be able to help with that one, actually.
Sorry, I was muted there. All registered officials should receive that. If they didn't get it, and I believe that there may have been a few people that have not been receiving some of the officials newsletters, we'll make sure that that gets resent out again as well today. So if you didn't get it, we'll look out for a resend.
And that goes the same for the coaches newsletter?
Yeah, goes to all registered coaches.
Okay, so if you're not getting it, then either check your spam, junk folders to see that if it's going in there, or you may have unsubscribed. If you unsubscribed, our system automatically pulls you off. And if you want to get back on, then let us know and we can look into it. So if you're missing any and you're not getting it and you've checked everything that's not going into your junk or spam, and you want to send an email to Sahid and he can look into it. Okay. Anthony, over to you. I believe you've got an update on some grants and awards.
Yes, so we have, so just one quick reminder, we have our Hall of Fame nomination deadline is approaching on October the 15th. I'm just going to put a link in the chat for that. So this is for the 2023 class. So we have already had our inductions as per our last town hall, but we're now accepting nominations for our 2023 class. So keep an eye out for that. Regarding Athlete of the Year nominations for our awards gala in December, we'll be opening up our nominations online hopefully today. That should be available today. So take a look in the newsletter. Today's newsletter will have that link available for making nominations for Athletes of the Year. That'll be for all the age categories, U14 up to Masters and Para. And then there's a couple grant opportunities available now that I'll just remind clubs. We do have a section on our website, which we try to update as regularly as we can with any grants that we're aware of. So we do have a couple grants with deadlines approaching. So one of them that I'll just briefly chat about, and I'll share some information in the chat as well. This is for the New Horizons for Seniors program. So it's a grant available up to $25,000. The deadline to submit applications is coming up November 1st at 3:00. And this is the application for this grant is is fairly extensive, so it will take a little bit of time to develop the plan and the budget for it. So if that is something that your club is interested in, I would encourage you to take a look at that soon as the deadline's approaching. But I see this as being a really good area to for clubs that are looking at developing a master's program, either initiating or growing a master's program. This is a great opportunity to find ways to support it, possibly through some capital, some equipment, program costs, maybe potentially hiring some staff to run a program for masters. So I encourage all clubs that are looking at some expansion into this territory, as well, just for event operations as well. So if you're a club that is looking at hosting track events and wants to develop some capacity to put on the events, a great way to build community in the athletics space for seniors. So encourage all clubs to check that out as well. One club, for example, that was successful last year, the Throwers Club submitted a grant application, which was successful. They received about $6,400 that went to supporting the Throw Summit, actually, bringing in some speakers, I think some t-shirts and some food and facility rentals for that event. So an excellent opportunity there. And another grant opportunity is through the Ontario Trillium Foundation. So that grant that's coming up is the Resilient Communities Fund. This one is up to $200,000. This is also a very extensive application process. So if you are interested in this, the deadline is December 7th. But it will take a fair amount of work to develop that application and budget as well. But there's a lot of really good resources for submitting applications through the Ontario Trillium Foundation. I know Cheryl's been on our team working on a lot of applications through this avenue, and it's a fair amount of work. So if you do have any questions and are interested in submitting an application, feel free to reach out to us and we might be able to provide some guidance. But these are applications that are really geared towards the community level as well. So as a PSO, we have applied, but where I believe we often don't meet the cut is that they're looking to really support a specific community, and our scope is province wide. So they're really looking to support at the community level. So I encourage clubs to check this one out. So that's December 7th for that application deadline. And that is it for me, Paul.
Great.
So
Thanks, Anthony. Any questions for Anthony?
I just wanted to further that. I'm not sure if you put that in there, but it was alarming to see how much funding there is for clubs. There's a list of clubs that did get the Resilient Communities Fund. Tons of support from the government there. So don't hesitate to apply if there's a project on the go. There's if you read through this list, you'll see some examples of what's funded.
Thanks, Cheryl. Okay, that comes to the end of our formal update session. Does anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts that they want to share or ask? Otherwise, I'm going to give you 25 minutes back in your day. Bob Bala.
Hey, Paul, sorry, I missed the early part with Karen's announcement. Can you give me a quick recap?
Yeah, essentially the good news is that they're going to be doing the emergency repairs that are going to have minimal impacts to the community. They're going to do their best to limit impacts to the any training at the Toronto Track and Field Centre, and they're committed to not impacting any of the regularly scheduled indoor meets that happen up there through the winter. So It's good news. And they're also looking at plans to eventually replace the entire track, which is not imminent, so it's not within the next year, but could be within a couple of years, something that will happen.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Nothing else? Then thank you very much, everybody, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Have a good weekend. Thanks, bye.